We're jumping straight in today because we are looking at a truly profound philosophical metaphor. It's an ancient concept, but honestly, it completely challenges how you and I consume information in our hyper-connected world. We're going to dive into some fascinating wisdom drawn directly from Islamic texts, specifically the Quran and Hadith, that uses a very unexpected teacher, and that is the donkey.
Okay, so picture this scene. You've got a donkey walking down a long, dusty road, and strapped to its back are literally some of the most valuable books in the entire world. We're talking volumes packed with profound wisdom and life-changing guidance. But there is one massive, glaring problem here. The donkey has absolutely no idea what it's carrying. It can't read a page, it doesn't understand a single word. So for this animal, all those priceless, incredible books, they're nothing more than a heavy physical weight pulling it down.
And this brings us to a really shocking paradox. Could a human being become exactly like that donkey? I know, it's a tough question, right? But it forces us to take a hard look in the mirror and ask if we are just hoarding knowledge without actually understanding it, internalizing it, or using it to make our lives any better. The Quran actually hits the nail on the head here in Surah Al-Jumu'ah, chapter 62, verse 5. It explicitly says, "The example of those who are entrusted with the Torah and then failed to carry it out is like a donkey carrying books." It uses this incredibly vivid imagery to drive home a timeless human lesson. The message here is crystal clear. Having knowledge without taking practical action is a burden. It is definitely not a blessing. Now, let's bring this into our reality today. Because, sure, we might not be walking down a road with physical books strapped to our backs, but just look at our digital habits. We are constantly downloading lectures to our phones. We save all these inspirational reminders on social media. We buy so many books that just sit there totally unread on our shelves, and we absolutely binge-watch educational videos. But if all of that consumption doesn't actually change how we act, well, what's the difference between us and the donkey? The knowledge just sits on the outside, it never actually penetrates the heart. And classical scholars were completely on the same page about this danger. Ibn Kathir warned that holding on to revelation without acting on it makes a person exactly like the donkey. Al-Tabari echoed that, noting that unpracticed wisdom gives you zero benefit. And Al-Qurtubi highlighted that action isn't just a nice-to-have, it's an absolute necessity. The real danger we face is possessing all this divine knowledge without actually doing anything with it.
Now hang on a second. Let's pivot and look at the actual animal, because I really don't want you thinking this is just a takedown of the donkey. On one hand, yes, we have the metaphorical donkey, passive, totally ignorant of its cargo. But on the other hand, we have the scientific truth of the actual biological animal. And honestly, its natural design is incredible and deserves a ton of respect.
Seriously, look at these facts from the Donkey Sanctuary and the Merck Veterinary Manual. The donkey is a literal survival machine. It thrives in some of the harshest environments on Earth. Those famously large ears, they aren't just for show. They actively regulate body temperature and pick up distant sounds with crazy precision. Plus, research shows they have an incredible long-term memory. They can remember specific places and complex routes for years. And that is exactly the point. The text knows this. It's not mocking the animal's intelligence at all. It's just using a very familiar physical burden as a super relatable metaphor for us. The warning is 100% for humans.
All right, moving on to Section 2, Lessons in Manners and the Unseen.
There's another fascinating place where the Quran mentions the donkey, and it's in Surah Luqman, verse 19. It says, "Lower your voice. Indeed, the harshest of all voices is the voice of the donkey." This captures such a beautiful, intimate moment. You have this wise father, Luqman, gently giving advice to his son about good character, and he uses that jarring, loud bray of the donkey as the ultimate standard for what to avoid when we communicate. It's an absolute masterclass in humility. The behavior lesson we get from this is incredibly blunt. Stop the unnecessary shouting. Completely reject arrogant communication. Instead, consciously choose dignity and respect. It's this powerful reminder that turning up the volume never gives you more authority. Real authority and real character are found when you deliver your words with gentleness and respect.
And what's wild is how modern science perfectly backs up this behavioral lesson. According to studies in the Journal of Experimental Biology, a donkey's bray is totally unique because it's produced while they are inhaling and exhaling. That makes it one of the absolute loudest, most distinctive sounds of any land animal, and it travels massive distances. So the text takes this undeniable biological reality, a sound literally everyone recognizes, and uses it to teach us not to be harsh or arrogant when we speak.
But you know, these lessons don't stop at physical manners. They go right into the unseen spiritual world too. The Prophet Muhammad directly connected that distinct braying to the unseen. In the authentic collections of Bukhari and Muslim, he advised, "When you hear the braying of a donkey, seek refuge in Allah from Satan, for it has seen a devil." And this is sharply contrasted with a rooster crowing, which happens because it sees angels. That contrast is incredibly significant.
This requires something really profound from us. We have to trust the unseen. It's a reminder to rely on prophetic guidance, even when the spiritual reality operates completely outside of our scientific, physical observation. It beautifully bridges the gap between the everyday sounds we hear and the unseen spiritual world going on all around us.
Okay, let's bring all of this together now. I want us to turn that mirror inward and ask ourselves some real, honest questions. First up, how many educational or spiritual lectures have you watched just this year? Second, how many books have you collected? Really think about it. Think about the sheer volume of information sitting on your shelves right this second, or downloaded on your iPad.
And finally, here is the million-dollar question. How much of that knowledge has actually changed your life? Because at the end of the day, the Islamic tradition is very clear. On the Day of Judgment, nobody is going to ask about the size of our libraries or how full our hard drives are. We are going to be asked what we actually did with the guidance we were given.
So it all boils down to understanding the difference between a burden and a blessing. A burden? That's measured just by how much you carry. The stacks of unread books, the gigabytes of saved podcasts. But a blessing? That is measured by how much you practice. True knowledge is only ever unlocked when you take that wisdom and apply it to your everyday observable life. So the next time you see a donkey, or even just hear one, I want you to remember this profound truth. These texts aren't hating on the creature, they are trying to wake us up. A book on your back changes absolutely nothing, but a lesson in your heart, that can change everything. So I'll leave you with this. Are you spending your life just carrying books around, or are you finally going to let that wisdom change your heart?